Well, today on Western Sports Roundup, we're going over the Kimes $1 Million Breakaway roping. $25,000 a round in Scottsdale, Arizona at Westworld. It's the best breakaway roping payout in history.
And we're going to keep talking a little breakaway roping because Jordan Jo Hollabaugh is going to join us on the show, not only to talk about the Kimes Ranch breakaway roping, but also a week from today, the National Finals of breakaway roping gets underway right here in Fort Worth at Cowtown Coliseum.
And you remember that rodeo that happened a couple weeks ago, or I guess last week? The National Finals Rodeo.
Yeah,
that's what it is. We're going over it all today, throwing it all the way back to rounds 1 and 2, the beginning of the week, what all you missed right here on the show.
Last time we saw him was round 2 in 2023. He is so happy to be back.
What a Bronc ride by Stetson Wright.
Round to the left, into his hand, Stetson Wright. All we can say is wow.
He's all there. Stetson Wright, he's going to try to win 2 in a row.
Yeah, come on, Stetson Wright. Stay up on the rope. He's going to go the other way. Big belly roll. Yeah.
Sports Roundup, the Cowboy Channel is the exclusive home of the PRCA, your destination for the very best in rodeo action.
Western Sports Roundup is now live on YouTube. You can watch the show in real time on both the Cowboy Channel and our YouTube live stream, giving you even more ways to stay connected with us and to Western sports.
Well, it's the Monday after the National Finals Rodeo. We're welcoming you into our Cowboy Channel studios right in the heart of Fort Worth, Texas. I'm Haley Novak here with Ty McClary, and this is Western Sports Roundup. Today, I'm sure all of you at home are watching all snuggled up on your couch with your blanket, dreaming of the rounds that you saw in the past right now, because we're about to go over what happened in rounds 1 and 2 out there.
We definitely are. The National Finals Rodeo. Remember, it got kicked off about 2 weeks ago now, I guess I should say. The 40th anniversary of the National Finals Rodeo being in Las Vegas. Remember, it came from Oklahoma City, made its way to Las Vegas in 1985. You're taking a look at some of the video from that year, all the way back in 85. Boy, it's changed a little bit, you might say. There was that big run of Charmaine James and Scamper. I love that one when he lost his bridle on the second barrel. Still went and made the run. Of course, the great bull Bodacious. And how about that guy, Joe Beaver? Oh yeah, the Thomas and Mack Center, now the house that Joe built. That was his first year there, by the way. Won his rookie year, won the world title that season, and it just continued on with what Joe did over all those decades there inside the Thomas and Mack.
And Ty, you mentioned that it looks a little bit differently now than it did then, and we're always continuing to evolve. In fact, this year was the first year that they introduced the quarter point system. We've seen it across Western sports events before, but never at the National Finals Rodeo. And in fact, it came into play when it came down to the world champion races. We saw it just barely split up the world titles by just mere hundreds of dollars. It was crazy to see, and I feel like it was a big success.
Yeah, it definitely was, and it took away some of those 90-point rides that I thought we might get when we saw an 89.5 or an 89 3/4, but I guess we'll let the PRCA and the judges worry about that. Also, other big news out of the National Finals Rodeo. Remember, at the beginning of the NFR, leading into it, I should say anyway, we had the big EHV1 virus outbreak in the horse world, so that changed things dramatically in Las Vegas. Quite a few of the events around the National Finals Rodeo getting canceled, but thankfully the NFR and a couple of the other events there in town went off without a hitch. So everybody doing their hard work to make sure that that happened and happened safely. We'll have more on that a little later on in the show.
Yes, we will, everything that it involved there. But the world leaders going into the National Finals Rodeo this year were a little bit differently than what we saw at the end of the day. Of course, Rocker Steiner holding that lead in the Bareback Riding. Will Loomis, we thought he had a chance again this year leading the steer wrestling. Caleb and Jr. again, Ryder Wright, the reigning world champion, now newly crowned by his brother. But Riley Webb, Cassie Mowry, Wacy Shala, and Stetson Wright. That's what it looked like before 10 rounds of a dogfight for these guys.
Yeah, and it was good stuff. And of course, as we get into Western Sports Roundup here today, our Kubota top story of the day, brought to you by Kubota. Together, we do more. Well, it was all about that guy right there, truthfully, Stetson Wright. The question was always being asked, is he going to be healthy to be back for the NFR for 2025? And I think he answered that not only quickly, to rodeo fans, but of course it went on for 10 days in Las Vegas, and Stetson Wright continued the Stetson Wright show that he seems to always put on when he shows up.
He did. It was incredible to see this one round and round two come out there with such a bang. And even in the saddle bronc riding, I know a lot of people were wondering if he would come back the same guy that he had left. And he, well, proved that just as well as the bull riding, coming off super hot 89 3/4, 89 1/2, making over $130,000 in the bull riding. Man, that was exactly what we expected.
Yeah, and of course, Stetson Wright just continued to have the week that you would expect from this guy. Of course, just from those first couple of rounds, here's what he had to say after winning go-round number 1 in the bull riding event.
Nights like tonight, does it make it that much sweeter?
Oh yeah, it makes it that much sweeter. Gosh dang, this should be a way more happy moment. I'm so emotional over it. It's almost ruined the moment for me because I want to cry, but it was a good bull with Dean H. Powder River, big shafts. I just got him a few weeks ago, and I knew I could ride him better than I did there, and I felt like I did my job way better today.
What took it to the next level with that bull? Haven't had him before.
Oh, I knew that I needed to run my knees up more, stop him from whipping me down, and I just tried to keep the strong core and strong back so I'd ride him like a Cadillac.
From the saddle bronc riding to the bull riding, you're winning over $72,000 just in round 1. Is this what your dreams are made of?
Oh yeah, Kingsley might get that unicorn she's asking for.
There you go. Hey, we got 9 more rounds to go. I can't wait to see what you've got planned.
Thank you.
Stetson Wright, Superman, is back in full form at the NFR.
Yeah, he was sure back after round number 2. This is what the world standing shook up like. Wasey Shala was right on his heels in the bull riding at the beginning. We thought that this race was going to continue on really strong throughout the end. It proved to be Stetson Wright at the end of the day. He really set himself apart of the pack, but Wasey Shala and Kai Hamilton, they sure did try.
Yeah, they definitely did. Remember, it was Wasey that came in that number 1 spot in the bull riding, and just after those first 2 rounds, Stetson had already upset him out of that number 1 spot and put himself into the number 1 spot there for Stetson Wright. So we tell you, Jordan Jo Hollabaugh is going to be joining us later on coming up on the show. We're going to talk Breakaway Open with her. Not only Breakaway National Finals that's going to take place next week here in Cowtown Coliseum, but she is in Scottsdale, Arizona to compete herself for the Kimes Ranch Open. That's all coming up as well.
And the EHV1 virus wreaked havoc on the equine industry. Stay tuned to see how it affected the 2025 NFR.
We've had a massive outbreak of EHV. It is a equine herpes virus, is what EHV stands for, and it is very contagious, and it can be fatal.
You know, it's a big deal in the horse world because there's so much interlacing of the events, you know, of each discipline. So that's what makes it a big deal.
This particular strain of it is neurological, and it's created quite an uproar right now.
Western Sports Roundup brought to you by Resistol, the official hat of cowboys everywhere. We live it every day. Western Sports Roundup is brought to you by Rock and Roll Denim. Live boldly. Live in rock and roll denim.
Well, with the beginning of the week means our Positive Times story brought to you by American Hat Company, and it's the National Finals of Breakaway Roping moves to Cowtown Coliseum, and it starts a week from today in a sold-out arena, one of the best stages that these cowgirls will have the opportunity of roping for in front of a packed house full of fans waiting to see them, Ty.
Part of that EHV1 stuff that went on in Las Vegas, they decided to move the National Finals of Breakaway Roping to Cowtown Coliseum a week from today, as Haley just mentioned. And speaking of that, we've got a professional breakaway roper joining us on the show. She'll be a part of that broadcast as well here in 1 week. Jordan Jo Hollabaugh joins us on the show. Jordan, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
I know it's been kind of a whirlwind for you because the past 2 weeks, obviously, you've been helping us on the Cowboy channel with the broadcast in Las Vegas. Now you've made a quick trip home since the NFR's open, now since it's been over. Now back to Scottsdale, Arizona for the Kimes Ranch roping, which gets underway tomorrow. So I'll lead in this way, Jordan Jo. You've been talking about roping for 2 weeks and rodeoing, but now you get to do a little of it on your own. I bet you're excited for that.
I'm super excited. You know, you can't leave the National Finals Rodeo without being fired up about, you know, anywhere you get to go after that, just being around that elite level of athletes all week long, you know, pulling bits and pieces from their mindset and learning from their successes and some of their triumphs at the National Finals Rodeo. So it was really fun, and I'm excited to rope here this week in Arizona.
After listening to all that for 2 weeks, what's one thing that you took away that you're going to be implementing from now on?
You know, the biggest thing is those cowboys and cowgirls, they have learned to trick their mind, I'll say, so to speak. And everybody's human, and they all go through, we saw at the National Finals, you all go through really good times and really tough times. And so it's all a mental game. We all have a lot of abilities that we've been given, and so just to show up mentally is huge. And so a lot of them talked about visualization and preparation, and that's what I was doing for 2 weeks in Vegas because I didn't get to rope physically there. So mentally, I was running some calves in my head. So that's what the biggest takeaway from those guys is they're visualizing their runs, they're seeing it happen, and they expect to win.
We talked about some big money being handed out at the National Finals Rodeo over the last 2 weeks, but here's the deal. The Kimes Ranch Open, it's not called the $1 Million Breakaway Open for just any old reason. You girls are running at some huge money this week.
This is the biggest event for breakaway ropers in the United States as of today. You know, $25,000 round, $60,000 average. And through that, you can win $10,000 for sixth in the average, $5,000 for sixth in the round. I mean, this is the biggest part of our year. This is not the national finals, but the payout like the national finals. And for the Kimes $1 Million Breakaway, for the Kimes Ranch to do all of this for Breakaway specifically, they committed to doing it last year, they committed to doing it this year, and they're committed to for sure doing it for next year. And so it's outstanding for breakaway ropers to have this opportunity, and that's what we work all year long for. I know the top 10 girls are seeded from the National Finals Breakaway. They're seeded into the Kimes Ranch, and then they take 15 qualifiers. And if you're a breakaway roper and able, you're going to be in Arizona this week.
That's no kidding. Speaking of that top 10 that's going to be there, Taylor Munsell, she'll be there, and she is one of our cowgirls to watch for this national finals of breakaway roping. She has been killing it all season.
Taylor has. She is just a picture of consistency. You know, she's got 3 really great horses. We've seen her ride all 3 all year long, and she's somebody that you can't ever count out. I call her Money Munsell. You know, she's a winner through and through. And she's worked through it all. She's won second in the world before. So there's 3 girls that are contenders this year for the National Finals Breakaway Roping World Champion. And then you're going to see the other 15. But you see Josie Connor right here too. Her and her horse Dutch, Horse of the Year. You know, Josie has just been a picture of success all year long. And she's capitalized on every calf. Not just the good calves. She's capitalized on the tough calves too. And over again. And so it's been fun to watch her. But you can't ever count out Shelby Medjid. Shelby Medjid is a world champion already, and she punched her ticket again. She won Calgary. It was a super sweet Cinderella story for her and her family this year. But she's coming back to be your first ever, you know, world breakaway roper 2 times. There's not been a breakaway roper that's won the world more than twice. And so Shelby has that opportunity this year. And she told me on In the Loop podcast, we did 15 days of breakaway, and she told me, she said, hey, I'm not having to play defense this year. I'm playing offense. I don't have anything to lose. I'm going to go at them. So I think it's going to be a really fun race to watch the world title this year. Like I said, there's only 3 girls because of Sioux Falls and how much money they were able to win there. Kind of pulled away from the rest of the pack. But it's going to be a jam-packed breakaway open. You know, the top 15 in the world. I will have to say, which I'm biased, but breakaway roping is one of the toughest professional events that we get to watch all year long. There's 4 out of the 5 world champions didn't make the finals this year. That's how tough it is. There's 4 rookies that made it. It's the fastest growing and toughest sport out there, in my opinion.
All right, Jordan Jo, you just mentioned the word rookies that's going to the National Finals Rodeo or the National Finals Breakaway Roping for the first time. We talked about the 3 girls at the top right there, as you just mentioned, with Taylor and Josie and Shelby. But how about the 4 first-timers that are going to be showing up at Cowtown Coliseum? That's a pretty stacked field of breakaway ropers as well.
It is, and to me, these girls aren't rookies. It's just the first time they've made it to the National Finals Breakaway Roping. But the coolest fact here is Aspen Miller is your youngest rookie. I think she's 22, 23 years old, and Suzanne Williams is 43 years old. So that just goes to show you that at any point and any time, these girls are fast, fierce, and if they want to make it to the National Finals, they're going to do it. You know, and I just think it's cool that any age you can be a breakaway roper and you can do it professionally. Kinley Bernice and then Bailey Bates, you know, we watch them rope all year long too. And to me, these girls aren't rookies because I've roped with them, you know, my whole entire life and growing up. And so to see them punch their ticket to the National Finals this year was pretty sweet.
Do you think the Cowgirls are going to be going into it thinking about that aggregate money at the end of the day, or are they just going to be going in there looking at the rounds?
You know, I don't think so. I think these girls are going to take it one at a time. We saw that in the team roping, the steer wrestling, all the timed events actually at the national finals, but they're roping it like 10 one-headers, and hopefully the average is going to take care of itself, because at any point in time, you can't back off in the breakaway. You've got to be pushing the start, and you've got to take your first throw, or you're not going to win any money because everybody else is going to. So I don't think these girls are going to count themselves out for rounds. I think 4 through 15 is going to be a really good show. They're going to be running at those calves. You know, I think we're probably going to see some broke barriers because they're going to try to be fast, but that's the name of the game. And so I think it's going to be a jam-packed breakaway open, but at no point from 1 to 15 do I think you're going to see these girls back off, because that's not what we do. We run at the barrier and we throw as fast as we can.
And that's what's going to happen next week right here at Cowtown Coliseum as the National Finals Breakaway Open gets underway a week from today. Jordan Jo will be a part of the broadcast here on the Cowboy Channel. We're looking forward to that. So, Jordan Jo, with that being said, good luck at the Kimes Ranch Open this week out in Scottsdale. Hope you come home with a bunch of money, and we'll see you next week on the Cowboy Channel for sure.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
That is breakaway roper Jordan Jo Hollabaugh joining us here on the show. Stay with us on Western Sports Roundup. We're going to continue looking at the National Finals Rodeo, what took place in round 1 and 2. We'll continue that recap when we return here on Western Sports Roundup.
In the first round, you got goosebumps. For me, it's like a kid backing in Thomas Mack first time every year. You know, I always get the chills and the nerves, you know.
I love round 1. It's like something you've waited for all year. It feels like Christmas, and it's nerve-wracking.
The first round is always the most nerve-wracking to me.
Everybody kind of has the jitters. Everybody's nervous, you know, no matter how many times you've been here, everybody wants to have a good start.
I'm starting out first out. I've never started out first out in the rodeo before. Excited to get it started, and on my horse that typically does well right out of the gate.
I've always kind of had very good luck in round 1. I've won it several times. I've been here enough. I kind of know what to expect, so kind of let my hair hang low and go as fast as I can.
The moments leading up to that first round of the Thomas Mack are something that I can't explain. I've never felt it, neither of you, Ty, but just feeling that energy that portrays across that feature, that's just incredible to feel. And when we look back at round 1 this year, one of the highlights for us was the rough stock riding. That's where all the drama lied. And the bareback riding, it ended up shaking out like this for the regular season. Rocker Steiner, he held it, but rookie to the NFR, Sam Peterson, was just $81,000 behind him.
Yeah, it looked good right there. Bradley Miller, Jess Pope, Cole Franks for the top 5 leading into that first day there in Las Vegas, and of course in the bareback riding. But when you look at it, round number 1, first event of the night, and this is how it kicked off. And of course, this is how the whole entire week kicked off in the bareback riding. How about it for Cooper Cook? Second trip to the National Finals Rodeo for this guy, and I love this story with Cooper getting the round win on this legacy rodeo stock bucking horse called Ramblin' Man. He mentioned it earlier in one of his interviews that kind of had to fight for this horse to get selected to the National Finals Rodeo, and that right there proved that he needed to be there 88.5 to win round number 1 for Cooper.
Well, that's the thing sometimes. The ones that aren't necessarily supposed to be there on paper show something else that the guys can only feel. Not necessarily what it goes on the scorecard, but what these guys can do to really dress them up. From round 1, we move on right to round 2, where Rocker Steiner stole the show. He came in there 88 points, big and strong on Silver Beaver to really kick off his finals, which would lead to a world championship.
And of course, round number 1 started off a little slower than Rocker Steiner and Rocker Steiner fans would like, but he comes back and answers the call right here with an 88-point ride on Tim Bridwell's Silver Beaver. That's what kind of kick-started his NFR to what we ended up seeing him have a great week there. And of course, Rocker Steiner getting the win in round number 2. Here's what he had to say with Janie after that round win.
Rocker Steiner, didn't even take that long for you to get that round win. That horse, though, Silver Beaver, what allowed you to really open up that style tonight for the win?
Yeah, you know, honestly, I was pretty scared of that horse. You know, it's strong and it's snappy, and everybody knows what happened to me in the second round, so this is a bit better.
You rode rode fearlessly, though. I know that you're waiting for this win. Another $36,000. You're breaking records. What is so great about tonight?
What feels so great? Oh, you know, I mean, I felt like I almost had to prove something to myself, you know. I feel like yesterday didn't really go the way I thought it was going to go. And, you know, obviously coming in the second round, I had the last year's second round in my head. And now I was scared of that horse. That's a really strong horse. But had a great day, and I let it have it.
I know it's early on. It's only round 2. But with a ride like that, can you start thinking about that gold buckle?
Not yet. In my head, I'm in 15th. So every horse is a new day, and every day has a new horse. So we're just going to go get some more buckles.
Let's go, Rocker. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You know, Rocker said it leading into the National Finals Rodeo and even some pre-rodeo interviews there at the NFR. I mean, he had a mission to accomplish there in Las Vegas. Obviously, it worked out well for him. We invite you to stay with us the rest of the week on Western Sports Roundup. We'll take you through each and every one of those go-rounds all the way up to the World Championship here this week on Western Sports Roundup. Wacy Shala was a big part of that all-around race leading into the National Finals Rodeo. And as far as the way it started, Haley Novak, it looked like it was going to be a big show. Sure, he got a little quiet there in midweek, but it started off very well, especially in round number 2, second place in the bareback riding.
The Wacy Shala that broke out in rounds 1 and 2 is a Wacy Shala we have not seen in the bareback riding yet. He came out to be so aggressive and so strong and so mature in his riding. I think that's why the all-around race and the everything else got pushed so high to the limits is because Wacy Shala pushed it there and had no choice but to go to the top.
Here's the way it looked after round number 2 in the bareback riding. You see Jess Pope had moved up a little bit, but the thing to notice is Rocker Steiner. He came in the number 1 spot, kind of separated himself just a little bit more from the rest of the field. And truthfully, over the first couple of days, maybe the first half of the National Finals Rodeo, Rocker seemed to just continue to separate himself. It changed a little bit as it got towards the middle part of the week, and again, we'll share that with you later on this week. But that's bareback riding. One of the other off-stock events, though, is saddle bronc riding, and there's a pretty familiar guy in the number 1 spot right there going in. That is the reigning world champion, Ryder Wright. Damian Brennan came in right behind Ryder, only $15,000 behind him. Dawson Hay, number 3, who ended up having a very quiet week. There's Zeke Thurston, the 4-time world champion. Cade Bruno rounded out the top 5 going into go-round number 1 of the NFR.
Yeah, that was incredible. And what do you know? Ryder Wright comes out there, or Stetson Wright comes out there on Renegade and 90 points. This little gray horse, I think, was one of the stars of the show as far as the stock goes. His brother Statler had a really good ride on him later on in the week, but the way Stetson dressed him up, people were wondering, is that blue shirt bonus? Do you think that was really 90? That was all of 90 and possibly more time.
Yeah, I agree with that. And this was part of that question that I talked about at the beginning of the show that got answered to him. Is he healthy or not? Of course, there's a look at him in go-round number 2 for Stetson Wright, what he did there. But no matter what, he kicked off round number 1 just like he wanted to in the saddle bronc riding. We'll talk bull riding a little later on. Damian Brennan came in behind Ryder Wright. Here he is, the round 2 winner. R. Watson's Prairie Fire for the Australian, 90 points. So that was 2 nights in a row. We got some big 90-point rides in the saddle bronc riding. Yeah, Damian's pretty fired up about it, but you know what? He should be. That was a heck of a ride.
It certainly was, and we'd go on to see Damian have success and the rest of the 2025 NFR. But whenever we look at the post-round 2 standings, this is what it shook out to be like. We saw some movers and shakers. Damian moved all the way to that number 1 position. Ryder Wright closely on his heels by 2,000. And then a huge drop between Zeke Thurston, Dawson Hay, and Cade Bruno, 3 through 5. You could really see the separation and what we'd come to see come out in fruition.
Yeah, that's what it looks like in the saddle bronc riding. And of course, like I said, we will continue to relive go-rounds 1 and 2 in the few events that we've still got to get to. We'll get into some timed events and all that coming up. So we invite you, stay with us here on Western Sports Roundup. That is exactly what is coming up. We'll talk team roping, and of course, we will also talk a little tie-down roping as well and what it looked like in round 1 and 2. Cowboy Channel's NFR Recap is brought to you by Ariat. Ready, set, ride, and boots and jeans that work as hard as you do. It definitely did, and those races continued through a bigger part of the week there for the tie-down roping. And as we look at it coming into The National Finals Rodeo, as far as what the world standings look like, yes, Riley Webb, of course, 305,000 on the regular season for him. Shad Mayfield, just a little behind him, 48,000 behind him. And I said this earlier in the week before the NFR started. Remember, they kind of switched spots from a year ago, because a year ago, Shad came in number 1. Riley was chasing him. Not the case in 2025. They flip-flop, and Shad even talked about this as well throughout the week, especially after the first round win that we're about to see here in just a moment, how he would rope ahead of Riley each and every night, and he tried to use that to his advantage.
When you come into the finals only $48,000 behind number 1 and you get paid $36,000 a round, you have nothing but to do than go for the rounds. And for Shad to come out here 6'8" in the very first round, that was the confidence that he needed to continue on and to really continue on to motivation. You know, Lollipop, this was her first run in here, and she worked so outstanding, and Shad just absolutely blew it out of the water. And what I love most about this is what he was talking about on his horse and how the fans were screaming and they were erupting. And whenever the drama began, it started right here in round 1. Let's hear what he had to say to Katie.
Shad Mayfield, this is the start to the NFR you've been looking for.
I have nothing to lose. That's how I'm roping in the position I'm in, and I don't believe anyone thinks I'm a threat here, but I'll tell you right now, I have nothing to lose, and that's how I'm going to rope all week.
How much have you used the naysayers to propel you to this new mindset?
That's for the naysayers right there. Everyone that doubted me in the first round and said what they wanted to say, here you go. Is that what you want? It's just going to get better.
Yeah, I think the doubts are starting to go away. 6'8" to start things off for Shad.
Offense, and he started the battle that began. In round 2, we saw the similar story with a few more characters involved. In fact, Marty Yates, Dylan Hancock, and Shad Mayfield all split round number 2, making it quite the parade inside the arena for the victory lap and a huge crowd on the stage at the South Point. Marty Yates came in there on this horse owned by Lane Livingston, 7'8". This horse, it hasn't, I'm not sure if it has been in this arena before, but for it to work as good as it did round 1, I feel like they were off to a good start.
They definitely were. Marty competing at his 11th National Finals Rodeo. I bet that little wave was to his wife and daughter sitting up there in the crowd. Of course, Dylan Hancock competing in his 2nd National Finals Rodeo. He was also part of that 3-way split in round number 2 at 7 and 8. Dylan Hancock had a great National Finals last year, a little bit quieter probably this year than what he wanted. I'm sure everybody wants to win as much money as they possibly can there, but yeah, it was a little bit quieter, but no matter what, round number 2, kind of thought his week was going to get started off right. No matter what, he split the win in this go-round.
He did. He rides that bay horse called Earl everywhere. And Dylan Hancock, he's going to be around for a long time, just as well as Shad Mayfield is. He hung in there 7'8" to split the round again, and this was a really momentous run for Shad.
It definitely was, because like he said after round number 1, he's like, man, I got nothing to lose. I just got to keep gaining. And boy, did he prove that after the first 2 rounds. I mean, holy cow. You talk about started off on a heater right here to win round 1 by himself, come back and split the round with Marty and Dylan. That was looking like it was going to be a phenomenal week. The thing is, though, here's the way the world standings look. You see Shad Mayfield had climbed within $1,600 of Riley. Riley hadn't necessarily done anything wrong. He'd placed in those first couple early rounds. He just didn't really draw good calves in that first part. But, man, Shad was definitely answering the call after the first 2 nights.
At this part of the week, we thought that Shad Mayfield was going to blow Riley Webb absolutely out of the water. I think round 1 was talking to his naysayers a little bit, and round 2 was putting that exclamation point on there saying, hey, that wasn't a fluke deal. That was on purpose.
Yeah, and he meant it. He definitely meant those first couple of go-rounds for sure. That's the way the tie-down roping looked. Now, let's stay down at the timed event end of the arena, and let's talk team roping here for just a moment as far as the first couple of go-rounds. This is the way it started in the world standings. Caleb Driggers and his partner, Junior Nogueira, in the number 1 spot there for the standings. Just a little shy of 200,000 coming in on the season to the NFR, but there's Tanner Tomlinson, less than a half a go-round away there at the NFR. As we go to the team roping on the heeling side, it was Junior, of course, in the lead. Coulter Todd was a little bit ahead of his heading partner as far as they're in the number 2 spot. Jade Corkill, who we thought was going to have a great NFR. He did have a good NFR, just, they had a little hiccup there late in the week, but no matter what, Levi Lord, Travis Graves was your top 5 going into night number 1.
When round 1 came into play, I think everybody almost guaranteed that Lightning Aguilera and Caden Perfili were going to get a check at some point during the week. Little did we know that they were going to come out and win the round 4 flat to be the fastest time. Caden has been there a couple times, just as well as Lightning, and I don't think anybody in the PRCA can reach and rope as fast as this Lightning Aguilera can. So it was no surprise that they kicked off the rodeo with a big old win.
You know, you heard Joe Beaver talk about it on the broadcast each and every night, because they did end up missing a few steers throughout the week, and that was kind of the deal, feast or famine for this team. But Lightning, when he would get it on them quick like that, riding the former head horse of the year, oh yeah, it would end up fast with Caden Profili back there. Another team that started off well in go-round number 2, that was Jake Smith and Douglas Rich. They ended up getting the round win there at 3-9. Things kind of got cold after that for Jake. He was having some trouble there on the heading side, but here's the deal. When you get a round win in round number 2, doesn't matter. They're piling up a bunch of money, $36,000 in their pocket after that night at 3-9.
The world standings looked like this after the first 2 rounds happened. The heading Tanner Tomlinson had moved into the number 1 position in the world standings. Andrew Ward very close on his heels, though a little under $800 away from Tanner. Driggers, Jake Smith, and Clint Summers, they were all in very good contention. As we move on to the heelers, it's a tight race over there as well. The top 5, they were not letting any room for error. Jake Long are $130 away from Junior Noguera at the number 1 position.
Yeah, Caleb and Junior, they had started off really slow. Didn't have much done there first part of the week. That's why these guys not only overtook Caleb on the heading side, but Jake and those guys were, I mean, hot on his heels there in the heeling for Junior Noguera. So that's what it looked like after the first 2 rounds. When we come back on Western Sports Roundup, we've got more events to talk about. We'll talk about the ladies and the barrel racing and what Cassie Mowry did in round number 1. And we'll talk about the steer wrestlers as well. That's all coming up on the show.
An EHV1 hit the rodeo world like a storm right before the National Finals Rodeo. The equine industry prevailed for success.
Cowboy Channel's NFR recap is brought to you by Ariat. Ready, set, ride in boots and jeans that work as hard as you do.
All right, the barrel racing, it was a round that we expected. Cassie Mowry and Haley Kinzel were going back-to-back in the steer wrestling. It was remarkable what Tucker Allen did this week.
Oh, it definitely was. And, of course, there's a look at Cassie Mowry and her great horse, Will, that she started off the first part of the National Finals Rodeos. We welcome you back to Western Sports Roundup here in our Cowboy Channel studios in Fort Worth, Texas. We continue reliving the National Finals Rodeo, the 40th edition, by the way, of it being in Las Vegas since it went there in 1985. Steer wrestling, we usually call it the big man's event, but as many of you know now, Cowboy Channel fans and NFR fans, you know, it was about maybe one of the smaller guys of the week, but one of the big guys was in the number 1 spot going in.
You talk about Tucker Allen's size, and I think he has a really big heart, Ty.
Well, he does. He definitely does. I'd agree with that, but he's definitely not the size of that big guy right there, Will Loomis, that went in the number 1 spot. Jesse Brown was chasing him with about 32,000 behind him. Justin Schaefer, Rowdy Parrott. There's Tucker Allen, who came in that number 5 spot in the world standings, and we watched him just move closer and closer to that number 1 spot as the week went on. But it was the 5-time world champion, Tyler Wagaspak, who started off the week in the right spot. We're like, okay, yeah, here's what we're pretty used to this world champion doing, and that's winning the first round.
Yeah, after that first round, I thought we all maybe considered Tyler Wagaspak leaving a world champion. Coming out so strong, he's riding the same horse that Will Loomis rode, Swamper, having Winston McGraw on the hay side out there. And that's no surprise for Tyler Wagaspak to do.
I know I was really excited about it because he was on my Pro Fantasy Rodeo team. So I was like, oh, yeah, this is starting off really good. Way to go, Wags. I'm proud of you.
Well, how well did that work out for you guys, Ty?
So good. Let's not even talk about that, all right? Let's go to the guy that won round number 2, Tucker Allen. And, of course, it's just maybe you say this started the week for him. I don't know. This guy was just awesome all week long. 3.6 for Tucker Allen. Go round number 2 winner. The first of many that he would end up getting over the week. Here's what he had to say with Katie Lucas after that round 2 and that 3.6 second winning run.
Tucker Allen, 3-6 today. You had a very clear game plan on that steer, didn't you?
Yeah, I knew I could get my feet in a good spot, and Banker worked great. Justin Hayes outstanding. Just blessed, to be able to ride that horse, and yeah, it all worked out today.
From there, it was all smiles and even a fist pump when you took that victory lap. Your first go-around victory. How you soaking it in right now?
Oh, this is unreal. My whole family's up there, and I just want to say to all my family in California, Teddy Robinson, I love you guys.
Hey, there's a lot to love in you, too. 3.6 seconds, guys. It was a great run.
If only round 2 Tucker knew what round 10 Tucker would end up becoming, that'd be incredible. But just $26,000 is what he was behind Will Loomis, encroaching on that lead there. That's what it looked like after round 2. And Tyler Wagas back again right on those heels. That's when you were still excited about your fantasy rodeo team. You thought you were in it at this point. And I'm not going to spoil it for anybody.
Not the case. I will say, as far as the Celebrity Tattoo League, I'm not the guy that's getting a tattoo, so I'm okay with that. But as far as the big money goes in the pro fantasy game, yeah, it wasn't good for the rest of the week.
And I can't hate on you, really, because my team didn't do well either. So I named my team the winning teams, and they didn't win anything. So next year,
you better change the name.
I'm going to do the losing team and hope for that reverse psychology there. And the barrel racing, though, that's what kept everything interesting. Cassie Mowry came into this rodeo #1 in the world standings over Brittany Posey Tanazi. Emily Beisel third, Haley Kinsel second, and Megan McLeod-Sprague in there.
Because of the EHV1 virus, Cassie Mowry decided not to bring her #1 horse, Jarvis. Wasn't because he was sick or anything like that. She just didn't want to take the chance of getting him exposed and left him home. So there was a big question mark with Cassie Mowry. She is a phenomenal rider and trainer. So I don't know that, I probably shouldn't say it that way. Not that it was a big question mark, but more importantly, just what horses she was going to have in town. And of course, she chose to answer that question for everybody in go round #1. First lady out, riding the big gray horse, Will, that we watch her win lots of rodeos on. Just wasn't expecting that in Las Vegas, but oh yeah, she left no doubt at all when she turned this third barrel and back across the timeline to win the first round.
She's won over $700,000 on this big gray horse. And even Cassie Mowry said, to your point, Ty, that she wasn't sure she could capitalize without Jarvis there with her. So even she was kind of doubting the power there that she had. But Will, he proved to be victorious in round 1 and as well as the rest of the finals out there. Coming in, the reigning world champion barrel racer, there's a lot of pressure on your back. And Cassie Mowry, she handled it like the world champion she is.
Our reigning world champion, Cassie Mowry. And Cassie, I know it wasn't originally the plan to run Will here. He's done well in the past year at the Thomas & Mack, but what did it take to bring him to the next level for that round win?
You know, Will's always given me a shot the first run out of the gate, and he starts out great early, and I was first out tonight, so I used that to my advantage, and I couldn't be more proud of him tonight.
You know, what a lot of people don't realize is that horse is 17 hands. What does a horse of that size feel like in such a small arena?
Yeah, it's like trying to drive a bus through this little arena. It's not easy. It's a lot of horse to get around a barrel, so I have to really tell myself the weight on him. But he's been really consistent, so I'm lucky.
It was so awesome to watch. Congratulations.
Thank you.
After Cassie's round 1 win, Haley Kinsel and sister had to answer that call by winning round 2. This looked like deja vu as to what we saw in 2024. These two barrel racing titans battling it back and forth for the gold.
Yeah, they definitely were. This kind of was a lot like that tie-down roping race that we talked about moments ago. We're like, oh yeah, they're just going to battle it out all week long, and that's pretty much what they did for a little while anyway. But Cassie getting the first round win, Haley Kinsel and that great Palomino mare, horse of the year again, of course, for sister, round 2 winner at 13-53. So after the first 2 rounds, with each one of them getting a round win, Haley Kinsel actually jumped ahead of Cassie Mowry after that round 2 win. $261,000, almost $262,000, and that put Cassie now chasing her at about a little over $4,000 away from Haley Kinsel. Brittany Posey Tanazi, #3. Emily and Lisa Lockhart at #5. So that's what it looked like for the ladies in the barrel racing, of course, after go round #2. And I would say this, looking at the barrel racing, that EHV1 outbreak was maybe affected this event more than any other event. And of course, as many of you know, lots of cowboys and cowgirls made their way to Las Vegas for the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo. And that recent outbreak of the EHV1 virus had contestants, veterinarians, stock contractors, everybody was on high alert. We take a look at this year's NFR adapting to keep the horses and everyone and the sport safe in Las Vegas.
We've had a massive outbreak of EHV. It is a equine herpes virus, is what EHV stands for, and it is very contagious, and it can be fatal.
You know, it's a big deal in the horse world because there's so much interlacing of the events, you know, of each discipline. So that's what makes it a big deal.
This particular strain of it is neurological, and it's created quite an uproar right now.
EHV, equine herpes virus, is a respiratory virus, and it's around all the time. It's a very common respiratory virus. The neurological component of it usually is associated with EHV1, anywhere from very mild neurologic symptoms to very severe fatal neurologic symptoms. So things you would look for from an owner's standpoint is obviously a fever. That's the most consistent symptom that you will see. Dragging their hind feet, limp tails. Tail feels like it, you know, it has no feeling in it. And then they can just progress as you go up, dog sitting to recumbency. But what you've had in this instance is you have, basically think of a herpes virus on crack. I mean, it is rapidly dividing, it's very aggressive. It's not that it's not out there all the time in our world, you just typically don't see the neurologic component to it, except in little outbreak episodes where that virus is really hot, really aggressive.
So I know a lot of guys that, hey, they've been at home because they hadn't been anywhere. You know, rodeos are over. If you were home and your horses hadn't been anywhere, get your horses and go somewhere where nobody's around. And that way you don't have to worry about it. Because, you know, it doesn't matter if you're 8 years old or you're going to the national finals for your 40th time. Whatever you made them on or you went on, they're pretty important to you, so you're not going to take a dumb chance.
I'm going to tell you, they've stepped up, the contestants. I've been proud of my contestants. Because, I mean, they're keeping temperature logs and they're calling, okay, what do I need to do, what do I not need to do, you know, what are the little things that I can do? Because it only takes one break-in protocol to get started.
This year's NFR may look a little bit different. It has been a journey to get all of the athletes here safely, the four-legged athletes, I should say. We have increased biosecurity and did everything that we have been able to do to ensure their safety on the tail end of an equine herpes outbreak. So this year, a few added requirements. In previous years, we have kept horses on a lot of off-site facilities, which, you know, this is a small venue as far as putting a lot of horses in one place. But the NFRC and the PRCA made the decision that the horses would be only here and not go on and off of the premises. I always have concerns. That's the way our minds work as veterinarians, right? But we're doing our best to keep a very close eye on these horses. These contestants and these stock contractors know their animals very well, and they want what's best for them. They don't want to ride a sick horse, and they don't want to get anybody else's horses sick. So everybody's has their animal's best interest at heart.
These horses are everything, you know. We've got a set of colts here amongst us. You know, we watch them grow up just like your children and bring them along. Each one's individual to their own being of how fast, how hard you can push them. And the ultimate goal is to get them across the finish line, and that's the NFR.
You're not going to take anything that's not healthy to the national finals. You have to have the best of the best, and they'll be their best to anything anyway.
The four-legged athletes in this sport are the most important part of it to me, I think to the contestants, to the stock contractors. Without the animals, we don't have a sport. And so to protect their well-being and their health is always first and foremost when I make a decision.
A lot of work was done prior to the National Finals Rodeo and during the National Finals Rodeo to keep our equine athletes and everyone else safe during the National Finals Rodeo. Good job done by all.
Yes, it certainly was. We have a lot of show left, so don't go anywhere. We've got a bunch coming up right now. Our Veteran Top Moments coming up next. Cowboy Channel's NFR Recap is brought to you by Ariat. Ready, set, ride in boots and jeans that work as hard as you do.
been a lot of fun here on Western Sports Roundup today to kick off the week of reliving the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo and what took place in Las Vegas over the past week and a half, I guess I should say. And I mentioned it earlier in the show, but I'll tell you again, be sure and join Western Sports Roundup each and every day this week. We relive not only the round winners, but some top moments throughout the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo.
Yeah, it's so nice. Let's just go ahead and relive it twice. But our Veterans top 3 stories of the day: clean, treat, heal, advancing animal wellness.
Stetson Wright kicked off his first NFR. That first one, he'd been back since 2023. And remember, 2023, he didn't even get to compete that long after injury there after the second round. But wow, he won 3 of the first 4 events the first 2 nights.
And the Kimes Ranch $1 Million Breakaway begins tomorrow in Westworld, Arizona. The last chance qualifier goes on tomorrow. They'll have the semifinals later in the week, and then at the very end, it's $25,000 around.
A week from today kicks off the National Finals of Breakaway roping here in Fort Worth. Jordan Jo Hollabaugh joined us not only to talk about that event at the National Finals Breakaway, where she'll be a part of the broadcast here on the Cowboy channel. She also was here to talk about the Kimes Ranch Breakaway roping getting underway tomorrow. So that's the way it looked for Veterans top 3. And speaking of kind of what's going to happen at the National Finals Rodeo for the next couple days, I won't tell them.
Yeah, you got to keep it a secret.
That's right. Rounds 3 and 4 will be up our sleeve tomorrow.
Yes, they will. And that's where the story keeps building along. We see the world champions at the end of the day, but looking back kind of gives you a little bit of hindsight, maybe where they stepped ahead or stepped behind and maybe missed a little bit. But the tie-down roping race was tight, and the all-around race, man, we thought that was going to be a tough one.
And truthfully, the first half of the NFR, it was. I mean, yes, Stetson Wright was winning go-rounds, but Wasey Shala, yes, he came in behind Stetson, but he was still answering the call those first couple of go-rounds. I mean, he was getting checks not only in the bareback riding, also in the bull riding, and we're like, oh, man, how much fun is this going to be? So, obviously, with rounds 3 and 4, it was still looking pretty good between Wasey and Stetson for that all-around title.
And in the bull riding, the rookie battle was looking to be Hudson Bolton's all the way. But there were 4 other rookies that did not want that to happen. They wanted history to stay the same. And they all rode really well. I think that they rode the best out of any rookie class we've seen here in a while.
Oh, yeah, those rookies. I tell you, they did something there in Vegas that you haven't seen in a long time, and that is the fact they rode so many bulls at the National Finals Rodeo, at least for the rookies as far as that goes. I mean, it was a great Resist All rookie race that we didn't get to decide until all the way at the end of go-round number 10. So that's what it looked like on today's Western Sports Roundup. That was 1 and 2 as far as the first couple of go-rounds. Rounds 3 and 4, we're going to recap them tomorrow here on the show. So we invite you to come back with us. We'll be here tomorrow. That's going to wrap it up for Haley Novak. I'm Ty McClary. Thanks for riding along with us here on Western Sports Roundup. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Have a great rest of your evening.